Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild still to this day is one of the most beautiful games and best experiences I've ever had in a video game world. And of course, I want to come back to this game after 6 years later, right before the sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, comes out, to talk about the locations that I feel like you need to visit. Now, we don't know what Tears of the Kingdom is going to do with its gameplay and with the world right now. Apparently, Aonuma stated that we'll be able to change and interact with the world in different ways, so maybe this means that we can change the way the world looks, maybe revert it back in time, or maybe have more cave sections and underground areas within some of the areas that we've seen so far. So today I have 7 locations that I feel like everyone should visit in order to remember before Tears of the Kingdom, whether it be because of the way the land looks, or possible cave networks that they can open up with, or possible changes that Nintendo can make with these places within the next game. Look, the game has been out for 6 years, so obviously lots of us have been to these places, but some of us may have missed these places altogether or simply want to go back and revisit them. So if you have any other places that you loved and very important places that you think might play a pivotal role in Tears of the Kingdom, let me know in the comments down below and you could appear in the next video. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and here are 7 locations that you need to visit before The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Tuft Mountain is a really cool location by the cliffsides and by the ocean, which is really neat, but this mountain has a great view at the backside of Hyrule, and it kind of shows you all the mountain ranges around the jungle area and lots more. But I really like this location also because the beach area beside it, which is Aris Beach. Aris Beach is full of enemy camps that's also on the water itself, so you get to go through like a little enemy camp. But what makes this area really interesting as well is I'm not going to spoil this actual thing, but you might want to visit some of the beaches before going to Tears of the Kingdom, because based off of the art book leak, I saw some things that might be very interesting within the beach areas. So to prepare and remember these places, I think Aris Beach and obviously Tuft Mountain is a really good start. Dunzo Plateau is one of my favorite areas, just like the cliffs of Kinsei, but those aren't in this video. But these are a giant mountain range cliffside that has holes at the top of the cliff, which is super interesting because you can look inside the holes and actually see the ground underneath. There's even a giant Hinox sleeping down there that you can attack. It's such a beautiful area to see how the light shines in through the holes everywhere, but it's also an area that I think they can expand on even more and do more stuff like this within the world, since we know there's going to be caves and underground networks. Maybe putting more holes in the landscape that we can actually jump into, but actually go into the ground. Imagine it's not just more land underneath, but instead you're going underneath the ground into a new world down below, which would be awesome. But beside these cliffs, there's also a nice little cave section and network that you can drive through, or you can even paraglide all the way down and your feet won't even touch the ground. It's actually really peaceful and it's a really nice glide. Strock Lake is a very interesting area because it's a very deep lake that's beneath the cliffside, which once again, maybe they'll drain and actually have an underground cavern here somewhere, or maybe caves for us to explore, which is pretty cool. Something else that makes this area really cool is the crosswinds that blow, because sometimes they will blow from east to west and sometimes from west to east, depending on when you come. But also what's really cool about it is you can ride this gust. If it's blowing all the way out towards the bridge, you can go to Kalami Bridge, which is a nice view of everything while you're up there. That's if you don't completely miss the bridge like I did. Next up, we have Paquita Stone Grove. This area was always very interesting to me because it's full of different rock slides and snow mountains that are kind of crumbled and broken for some reason, and we really don't know why these structures look like this. It looks like something blew this area up, or some type of structure caused this to collapse, and I really would love to see why. Maybe we can have a time travel place where this actually gets reverted and we get to see what this used to be, or maybe what happened to it. Would be really cool. But once again, we are deep underground, and there could be tons of cave networks that they add in Tears of the Kingdom for this place. It's a beautiful location as well, as it will always be snowing, and it will just look really peaceful even though it's full of enemies at the bottom. You can also find a Frost Talus when you're walking on the top of these structures, but it's a really cool area that I would love to see what they do with it in the next game. The Abandoned North Mine is an area that you undoubtedly spent time with because it was part of the story missions, but it's so interesting because it's one of the few places in the game where the things that you did throughout the story can actually stay and you can play around with them, like the cannons where you can fire bombs out and explode enemy camps, which is just extremely satisfying. But what's so awesome about this place is it's based off of a mine network that used to be, and I would love to see, you know, caves open up now beneath the lava flow where we can actually go into the mines and see what it looks like. It reminds me of Elden Volcano, if anything, from Skyward Sword, where we had all those mine sections that we could go underneath, and I would love to see something like this in Tears of the Kingdom. I think this place has tons of potential, and maybe some of the lava actually lowers that lets us get deeper and deeper into the volcano, and of course, maybe even in the volcano itself. But that is for a separate video. It wouldn't be a Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild video if we didn't talk about this location. The Akala Citadel ruins is still one of the most important places on this entire map, and as we saw in Age of Calamity, it had so much more value than what we even thought it did based on this game's information. We know this was the last standing point for Hyrule before they were defeated during the Great War, and we saw in Age of Calamity how important this place was as we spent very many missions here. So I would love to see maybe this place open back up. Right now it's covered with debris and sand and there's no way to get inside this place, but maybe some of that goes away and resettles, allowing us to actually enter the ruins of the Akala Citadel. And maybe deep below there's some creepy areas underground, which would be really cool, and it kind of reminds me of Arbiter's Grounds. Could you imagine if underneath this citadel, deep underground, that's where all the Redeads and creepy enemies are, and we get to go through the catacombs and stuff? That would be really cool. So I'm hoping that the rocks, rubble, and sand eventually gets moved out of the way, allowing us to enter the ruins once again. Let's just hope my boy Nelly isn't still getting beat up by moblins at this location again. And the last one I have today is Avali Plane. This place is actually very sad. It's right beside Hateno Village and also near Kakariko Village, but it seemed to be some type of horse training grounds where you go around the path and also shoot the targets with your bow and arrow, and also just kind of jump over different obstacles with your horse. There were tons of little structures here, even buildings, a house, and even an area up on the hill, but it's all gone. It's all been completely wasted. And that's one thing I hope to see in Tears of the Kingdom. I want to see more of these villages kind of rebuilt, because we saw in Age of Calamity, lots of these areas were homes and neighborhoods for lots of families and kids, and I want to see all this stuff rebuilt. I want to come back to this place and see it fully functional, with kids riding horses, learning and training with their horses, and also just all these houses, homes, and structures built back up. This is what would make the sequel so exciting to me, is comparing areas like this from the first game to the new game, and how the civilians of Hyrule were actually able to rebuild after the Calamity's first attack. I didn't realize how many cool areas that there were in Breath of the Wild that could be expanded on and grown out further in Tears of the Kingdom, and I hope this is what they mean by world building, by adding maybe more cave networks and underground areas, rebuilding civilizations that have been broken thanks to Calamity Ganon, and also just kind of rechanging and repurposing areas that we know and love. There's so many awesome areas and spots on this map, it would be impossible to squeeze them all in one video. So I will be making more videos until the lead up of Tears of the Kingdom, until eventually the game drops. So if you guys have any other locations that you want to share and comment your description as why you're sharing them, do so in the comments down below and you could appear in the next video. Thank you so much for everybody that tuned in today, and make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Zelda and Nintendo in general. And I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.